The winter wind slashed through Manhattan like sharpened glass, swirling snow across sidewalks that glowed an eerie white under the street lamps. The city was wide awake, yet strangely quiet, muffled by layers of ice. On a deserted bus stop near 56th and Madison, a lone man stood hunched beneath a flickering light. Henry Miles wrapped his arms tightly around himself, the seams of his faded olive jacket stretched thin from years of use. In his other hand, he clutched a worn manila folder, inside, 5 resumes, each one a painful reminder of 5 more "we regret to inform you" emails. He watched his breath cloud into the freezing air, his chest tightening with exhaustion. 46 years old. Once a respected structural engineer. Now a widower, a father fighting to stay hopeful, and for tonight, homeless again. He tried not to think about his son, Noah. Or the truck where he slept. Or the job he hoped would come someday but never did. The red pharmacy sign across the street flickered, 8:41 p.m. The bus was late. Snow began to soak through Henry's worn boots, numbing his toes. He exhaled deeply, focusing on the distant city lights. And then, heels clicked sharply on the icy pavement. A woman approached through the storm. She looked around 30, maybe younger, wearing a tailored blouse and skirt far too thin for the weather. Her blonde hair was damp from the snow, sticking to her cheeks. Her arms wrapped tightly around her trembling body as she stood beneath the same awning, shivering violently. Henry noticed the way she tried to rub warmth into her hands and failed. Her lips were turning pale. He tried not to stare. Wealth radiated from her posture and elegance, yet right now she looked as fragile as an abandoned kitten in the cold. He shifted awkwardly, pretending not to notice. But then a harsh gust of winter wind slammed into them. She flinched, curling inward. And Henry moved before he could stop himself. He pulled off his jacket. It wasn't much, frayed, thin, barely warm, but it was all he had. "You'll freeze," he murmured. The woman snapped her gaze toward him, startled. You don't have to." "I know," Henry said softly. "But I've already lost enough today. This coat is the one thing I can still give." She hesitated, but he gently draped it over her shoulders. Warmth swept over her instantly. The coat smelled like soap, maybe coffee, maybe something familiar. She pulled it closer involuntarily, her eyes softening for the first time that night. "Thank you," she whispered. Henry nodded, hugging himself against the cold. Silence settled between them again, snow drifting like feathers around the bus stop. After a few moments, she asked quietly, "What's your name?" "Henry." She paused. "I'm Claire." "Nice to meet you, Claire," he replied, breath shaky. "You shouldn't have given me your jacket," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "Probably not. But I couldn't just stand here and watch you freeze." Before she could respond, headlights cut through the storm. The bus pulled up with a hiss, doors swinging open. Claire took a step toward it but hesitated. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Henry forced a small nod. "Somewhere." He didn't mention the rusted truck behind an abandoned warehouse. She reached into her purse and held out a business card. "If you ever need anything, call me." Henry accepted it only out of politeness, sliding it into his folder. Kind words from strangers rarely meant anything. Claire boarded the bus, glancing back one last time. The coat hung around her like armor. And then she was gone. Henry watched the red taillights disappear into the snowfall, the cold biting into his bones. Yet what made him shiver wasn't the winter, it was the strange warmth lingering in his chest. The feeling that for the first time in months, someone had looked at him, not through him. He whispered to no one, "Maybe tomorrow," and began the long walk back to his truck. When he finally reached the warehouse lot, the familiar shape of his old Chevy appeared through the snow, waiting like an exhausted friend. He climbed inside, breath trembling, and pulled out a tin box. Inside were 2 faces, his wife Lily and their little boy Noah. He pressed the photo to his forehead, whispering their names into the cold. Tonight felt different. He didn't know why. But something had shifted, quietly, powerfully. As Henry drifted to sleep, he didn't know that miles away, Claire Langston, CEO of one of New York's biggest companies, had just discovered the single item inside his jacket pocket that would change both their lives forever.
I sit alone under the pale moon's light, counting the stars through the endless night. Your ghost walks with me in the empty sound. I lost myself where love was found. The wind whispers.
Claire Langston sat in the back seat of her sleek black town car, the heater blasting as snow blurred past the windows. Yet despite the warmth, she couldn't stop shivering, not from the cold, but from the strange ache in her chest. Henry's jacket still wrapped around her shoulders. She clutched it tighter, inhaling the faint scent of old leather and something warm, comforting. Guilt pricked her conscience. She had accepted kindness from a man who clearly needed that jacket more than she did. When she reached her penthouse, she tossed her heels aside and set the jacket gently on a chair. A soft thud echoed, something had fallen from the inside pocket. Claire frowned and bent down. A photograph. A little boy with messy hair and a huge smile. His arms wrapped around a woman, his mother, presumably, with gentle eyes and a glow that suggested deep love. Claire's heart tightened. The back of the photo had handwriting. "Noah, Daddy will always find a way." She sat down slowly, the world suddenly heavier. Henry wasn't just a stranger. He was a father. A man fighting for his child. And she, CEO of Langston Industries, with more money than she could ever spend, had accepted his only source of warmth. The guilt became unbearable. Claire reached for her phone the next morning. Henry woke inside his truck, breath fogging the air. His fingers were numb, his joints stiff, but he forced himself upright. He had to find work, any work. He stepped into the freezing morning, pulling his folder tight under his arm, and headed toward the employment office. Inside, a tired receptionist greeted him with a forced smile. "Name? Henry Miles." She typed for a moment before shaking her head reluctantly. "Nothing new today." "I'm sorry." Henry swallowed the disappointment with practiced grace. "Thank you anyway." Outside, he sat on a bench, staring at the snow-coated streets. His body trembled from the cold. He hadn't realized how much the jacket helped until it wasn't there. But he refused to regret giving it away. His father had once told him, a man's worth isn't measured by what he owns, but by what he gives. Henry still believed that. Just as he stood to leave, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The back door opened, and Claire stepped out, bundled in a thick coat, Henry's jacket folded neatly in her hands. "Henry!" He blinked. "Claire? What are you doing here?" She approached slowly, guilt swimming in her eyes. I felt horrible last night. You gave me your jacket without hesitation, and I didn't even ask if you were okay." "I'm fine," Henry lied. She handed him the jacket. "This belongs to you. Henry hesitated before taking it. Their fingers brushed, sending a strange warmth through both of them. Claire bit her lip. "Henry, can we talk? Just a few minutes?" He nodded. They walked to a small cafe, Claire insisting on buying him a hot coffee. Inside, he warmed his numb fingers around the cup while she studied him with growing concern. "I found the photo in your jacket," she admitted softly. "It fell out." Henry stiffened. "Ah, yeah. That's my son. And my wife." Claire hesitated. "Your wife? She passed away 3 years ago." Her chest tightened. "Henry, I'm so sorry." He forced a faint smile. "She was my whole world. Noah too. But life, it has a way of knocking everything out from under you." Claire leaned forward. "Where is Noah now?" "With his grandparents in New Jersey. I send whatever money I can, but it's never enough." The tremble in his voice cracked something inside her. "You need help, Henry," Claire said quietly. "Real help." He shook his head. "I'm not asking for charity." "This isn't charity," she insisted. "Let me do something. You gave me warmth when you had nothing. Please, let me do the same for you." Henry opened his mouth to refuse, but stopped. Claire's eyes weren't pitying. They were sincere. She meant it. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and paled. Her assistant's voice yelled through the speaker. "Claire! The board is furious. Your shareholders' meeting starts in 10 minutes, where are you?" Claire closed her eyes, exhaling sharply. "I'll be right there." She stood, grabbed her bag, then turned to Henry. "I want to see you again," she said. "Please, don't disappear." Henry nodded slowly. "Okay." She offered a small smile, one that warmed him more than the coffee, then rushed outside to her car. Henry watched her leave, wondering why someone like her wanted anything to do with someone like him, but as Claire's car sped away, neither of them knew that her boardroom crisis and a secret within her company would drag Henry into a storm far bigger than either had imagined.
I sit alone under the pale moon's light, counting the stars through the endless night. Your ghost walks with me in the empty sound. I lost myself where love was found. The wind whispers secrets it'll never tell, like the echoing ache of a broken shell. Your smile lingers like a gentle flame, but the silence now whispers your name. I'm missing you more than the sun misses dawn, like a bird that forgets the sky it's drawn. Loving you feels like touching the stars, so far away, yet it's close.
"You family?"
in my scars.
Daniel glanced down at Emily. "I might be," he said quietly.
Of you
That night, Daniel stood outside Emily's door long after she fell asleep. 12 years ago, he had walked away from a woman he loved without asking the one question that mattered. Now fate had placed the answer in his home. And he was terrified.
poetry
Because if Emily was his daughter, then everything he thought he knew about his life had been built on a lie. As Daniel prepared to order a DNA test, a single thought stopped him cold. What if confirming the truth meant losing her forever? Daniel stared at the DNA test kit resting on his desk like it was something dangerous. He had ordered it that morning, quietly, efficiently, the way he handled every problem in his life. Contracts, mergers, crises. Everything had a process. Everything had an answer. Except this. Across the penthouse, Emily sat on the floor coloring, her legs crossed, tongue slightly sticking out as she focused. She hummed softly, a tune Daniel didn't recognize but somehow felt familiar. The sound filled the apartment in a way silence never had. If he tested her, and she wasn't his daughter, he'd still be the man who had stepped into her life when her world collapsed. But if she was, then walking away would no longer be an option. Daniel had spent his entire adult life avoiding responsibility that couldn't be controlled. And now, a 6-year-old with crayon-stained fingers held more power over his future than any boardroom ever had. "Sir?" Emily's voice broke his thoughts. "Yes?" He turned quickly. "Are you mad at me?" she asked, eyes wide. "No," he said immediately, crossing the room. "Why would you think that?" "You've been quiet," she replied. "Mama used to get quiet when she was scared." Daniel felt the words settle heavy in his chest. "I'm not mad," he said gently. "I'm just thinking." She nodded, satisfied, then held up her drawing. It showed 3 figures holding hands. One was clearly her mother. The second was a small girl. The Claire stepped into the boardroom just as the doors swung shut behind her. The tension inside was thick enough to cut with a knife. Her executives sat stiffly around a polished oak table, whispering among themselves. When they saw her, every whisper stopped. At the head of the table sat Harold Trent, the oldest board member and the one who never hid his disdain for Claire's leadership. "You're late," Harold announced sharply. Claire took her seat without flinching. "I had an urgent matter to handle." "More urgent than the future of this company," he scoffed. Claire ignored the jab, flipping open her portfolio. "Let's begin." But Harold didn't allow it. "Actually," he said, sliding a folder across the table toward her, "we need to discuss this first." Claire opened the folder. Her heart dropped. Inside were financial reports, numbers that didn't make sense. Funds missing. Projects overcharged. Divisions showing unexplained losses. "This is manipulated," Claire said instantly. "These figures aren't accurate." Harold leaned back smugly. "We thought you might say that. So we brought in an external auditor. They verified it twice." Claire felt a cold wave wash over her. "What exactly are you accusing me of?" He steepled his fingers. "Negligence. Mismanagement. Possibly fraud." A stunned silence filled the room. Claire's throat tightened. "You think I would steal from my own company?" Harold shrugged. "Numbers don't lie. And the board is beginning to wonder if perhaps you've lost control." Claire stiffened. "I have given this company my life." "And yet," Harold replied, "your personal issues seem to be interfering. Disappearing last night. Missing this morning. Unannounced absences. Emotional instability. These are concerning patterns." A ripple of whispers spread across the table. Claire clenched her jaw. "What exactly is this? A meeting or an ambush?" Harold smirked. "A vote. On your position as CEO." Claire's pulse pounded in her ears. "You can't be serious." "Oh, we are," he said. "But don't worry. You have a few days before the official vote. Use that time wisely." Her assistant slipped her a sympathetic look as the board adjourned. Claire walked out with her head held high, but inside, she felt everything collapsing. Her company. Her reputation. Her stability. She needed help, real help. And strangely, the first face that came to her mind was Henry's. Meanwhile, Henry walked the crowded Manhattan streets, his jacket pulled tight around him. Claire's words echoed in his mind. "Please, don't disappear." No one had said something like that to him since Lily died. He didn't know why Claire cared, but a small part of him hoped she meant it. He spent the rest of the morning searching for work, but every interview ended the same way, with polite apologies and regretful handshakes. The world had moved on without him. That afternoon, he sat on a bench near Central Park, watching people pass by, families, couples, tourists bundled in scarves. A strange loneliness settled on his shoulders. He pulled out the photo of Noah. "One day, buddy," he whispered. "I'll make you proud." Just then, his phone buzzed. A number he didn't recognize. He answered. "Hello? Henry?" Claire's voice sounded shaky. I need to see you. Today. It's important." Henry stood instantly. "Claire? Are you all right?" She hesitated before saying, "Please. Can you meet me at the Langston Tower Cafe? Level 12. I'll be there." The cafe overlooked the city skyline, walls of glass tinted with late afternoon gold. Claire sat in a corner booth, looking smaller than he'd ever seen her. No makeup, hair loosely tied, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "Claire," Henry said gently as he sat across from her. "What happened?" For a moment she didn't speak. Then her breath hitched. "My board is turning on me," she said. "Someone is sabotaging the company and framing me for it." Henry's brows tightened with concern. "That's serious. You're the only person I've met in a long time." She whispered, "Who has no reason to lie to me. No reason to gain from me. I trust you." Henry felt something shift in his chest. Trust. It had been years since anyone used that word with him. "What do you need?" he asked softly. Claire reached into her bag and placed a stack of altered financial documents on the table. "I need help finding the truth. Someone is trying to destroy me, and I think they'll succeed if I don't fight back." Henry skimmed the papers and instantly recognized something. A pattern. A signature. A construction project he once applied for. His eyes widened. "Claire, I know this company. And I know who's behind some of these numbers." Claire froze. "Who?" Henry looked up slowly, voice low and tense. "Someone very close to your board." Before Claire could speak, a shadow appeared beside their table, Harold Trent himself, smirking as he said, Well, I see you found yourself a little friend, Claire."
The wind whispers secrets it'll never tell, like the echoing ache of a broken shell. Your smile lingers like a gentle flame, but the silence now whispers your name. I'm missing you more than the sun misses dawn, like a bird that forgets the sky it's drawn. Loving you feels like touching the stars, so far away, yet it's close in my scars. The shadows of you in my hallway stand in the creases of notes you wrote by hand. Lonely hearts scribble poetry in pain. Our song's melody plays in my brain.
Harold Trent rested one hand on Claire's table, leaning in with a smug smile that made Henry's muscles tighten instantly. He looked every bit the polished corporate predator, expensive suit, slick silver hair, and eyes that glinted with quiet menace. Claire stiffened. "Harold, what are you doing here?" He chuckled softly. Enjoying a cup of coffee, of course. And checking on my CEO, who seems to be entertaining new company. His eyes shifted to Henry, cold, dismissive, assessing. And you are? Harold asked with false politeness. Henry sat straighter, refusing to be intimidated. A friend. Harold raised a brow. A friend? How interesting. Claire, dear, you never told us about this gentleman. Claire's patience snapped. Harold, enough. You're not here by coincidence. What do you want? His smile thinned. I want what I've always wanted, a stable company. One not run by someone with emotional entanglements. Henry felt Claire flinch beside him. Harold's gaze hardened as he leaned closer. You've been sloppy lately. Distracted. And frankly, associating with someone like him only proves my point. Henry clenched his jaw, but Claire spoke before he could. Henry is none of your concern, she said firmly. Oh, but he is, Harold replied, tapping a finger on the documents on the table. Those numbers you're holding? They could bury you. And I'd hate for you to make the mistake of trusting the wrong person while you're already drowning. Henry stood. Are you threatening her? Harold smirked. Not at all. I'm warning her. There's a difference. He straightened his jacket and walked away, his polished shoes clicking across the marble floor. Claire exhaled shakily, face pale. Henry sat back down. Claire, he knows something. He knows too much, she whispered. And he's enjoying every second of watching me crumble. Henry shook his head. He's pushing you because he wants your position. Claire looked up sharply. What makes you say that? Henry flipped the papers toward her. Because these aren't random errors. They're fingerprints. Someone's been siphoning money from construction subsidiaries, projects I applied to years ago. The numbers look exactly like the pattern Trent Construction used before they merged with Langston Industries. Claire's eyes widened. Harold's old company. Henry nodded. He's the only one who could manipulate these divisions without drawing suspicion. Claire's breath caught. He's framing me. Henry leaned in. He's setting you up to fail so he can take everything from you, your title, your reputation, your life's work. For a moment Claire looked like the world was spinning too fast for her to stand on. He won't stop, she whispered. Not until I'm out. Henry reached across the table, his hand brushing lightly against hers, a gesture full of quiet reassurance. Then you can't let him win. Claire swallowed, fighting tears. Henry, why are you helping me? You barely know me. He held her gaze. Because someone once helped me when they didn't have to. And because you're the first person who's seen me as a human being again, not a broken failure. Her lips trembled. You're not a failure. The softness in her voice made Henry's chest tighten, an unexpected connection forming between two people from entirely different worlds. But before either could say another word, Claire's phone buzzed violently. She answered it. Her assistant's frantic voice filled the air. Claire. The auditors just arrived, they're demanding immediate access to your financial systems. Harold is leading them. He's saying you're hiding evidence. Claire's face drained of color. He's making his move. Henry stood. Let's go. They rushed out of the cafe, snow whipping around them as they stepped onto the street. Claire's driver pulled up instantly, and they climbed inside. As the car sped toward Langston Tower, Claire pressed a hand against her forehead. If Harold controls the narrative.
I lost myself where love was found. The wind whispers secrets it'll never tell, like the echoing ache of a broken shell.
I'm finished before I can defend myself. Henry nodded. Then we need proof. Something undeniable. Claire exhaled shakily. But where do we even start? Henry thought for a moment. Harold always leaves a trail, he said. People like him can't resist putting their fingerprints on their victories. Claire looked at him with desperate hope. You think we can find it? Henry turned toward her with a calm certainty she didn't expect. Yes. But we have to be faster than him. The car swerved through icy streets, Langston Tower rising like a steel giant in the distance. Claire gripped the seat, her pulse pounding, but when they reached the lobby, the elevator doors slid open, revealing Harold Trent standing there, smiling coldly as he said, "Claire. I was expecting you." The elevator doors parted with a soft metallic hiss, and Harold Trent stepped out as if he owned the entire building. His smirk was calm but poisonous, too calm for someone who had just initiated a financial coup against the CEO. Claire froze mid-step, her breath hitching. Henry instinctively shifted closer to her, a silent shield between her and the man who had been pulling strings in the shadows. "Claire," Harold greeted smoothly, "perfect timing. The auditors are upstairs. They've already begun their review." Claire swallowed her fear and straightened her shoulders. "Then I'll join them." Harold raised a finger, blocking her path. "I'm afraid you can't. The board voted temporarily to suspend your access to sensitive systems until the audit concludes. Conflict of interest, you understand." Claire's eyes flashed. "You can't do that without my approval." Harold chuckled. "I can when the board believes the CEO has compromised the company's integrity." Henry stepped forward. "You're framing her. We know what you're doing." Harold gave him a lazy, almost amused look. "Ah, the Good Samaritan. The jacket hero." His expression hardened. "Stay out of matters far above your pay grade." Henry didn't move. Didn't flinch.
I sit alone under the pale moon's light, counting the stars through the endless night. Your ghost walks with me in the empty sound. I lost myself where love was found. The wind whispers secrets it'll never tell, like the echoing ache of a broken shell. Your smile lingers like a gentle